What would you do if you blacked out on a night out with someone you trusted, woke up next to a stranger, and then found out your so-called best friend had already told your boyfriend you cheated before you even opened your eyes? Today's story comes from r/pettyrevenge, sitting at over 6,000 upvotes, and it is one of the coldest, most patient revenge plays I have ever read on that subreddit. In the next 30 minutes, you're going to hear about a woman who was quietly poisoned against her own boyfriend by the one person she never suspected, a terrifying blackout night that nearly destroyed everything, and a recording that blew up a 7-year friendship in under 10 minutes. Stick with me until the end of this one, because the way this manipulator crumbles when the truth finally comes out is genuinely one of the most satisfying things I have ever narrated on this channel. Grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's get into it. To understand how we got here, I need to take you back to the beginning. Back to when things were actually good. And I mean really good. My boyfriend, I'll call him by his initial, and I had been together for almost a year. He was 36, I was 30. And look, I know people love to throw around the word perfect when they talk about relationships, but ours wasn't perfect. It was just easy. We got along. We laughed constantly. We didn't bicker over dishes in the sink or who forgot a text back. There was this natural rhythm to us that I had honestly never experienced before. I had been in relationships where everything felt like effort, where you're constantly negotiating and compromising and biting your tongue. This wasn't that. This was the kind of thing where you look at the person next to you on a random Tuesday night watching some garbage reality show, and you think, yeah, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. We had actually been friends before we started dating, which I think is why it worked so well. There was no pretending, no performance. He already knew my weird habits, and I already knew his, and we chose each other anyway. There was only one problem, one single issue in this otherwise solid relationship. Her name was Tammy. Tammy was 30, same age as me, and she was my boyfriend's female best friend. They had known each other for over 7 years. And here's the thing, I'm not one of those women who freaks out about her partner having female friends. I genuinely believe men and women can be close without it being anything more. I pride myself on not being the jealous, controlling type. I had seen too many relationships fall apart because someone couldn't handle their partner having a life outside of them, and I swore I would never be that person. So when I met Tammy, I was open. I was warm. I actually liked her. She was funny, she was easy to talk to, and over time, we genuinely became close. I considered her a friend, not just my boyfriend's friend, my friend. Now here's a detail that matters. Tammy had been roommates with my boyfriend and his ex-girlfriend. The ex had cheated on him, and after everything blew up, the ex moved out. Moved provinces, actually, got as far away as she could. But even from a distance, it was obvious to everyone that the ex still wanted another shot. She wasn't subtle about it. My boyfriend, to his credit, had zero interest in going back. They had been broken up for 6 to 8 months before he and I even started seeing each other. But Tammy was still friends with the ex. And that, looking back now, with years of hindsight, should have been my first red flag. I just didn't see it at the time. Or maybe I saw it, and I chose not to look too closely. I think a lot of us do that when we want things to work. So here's where the slow poison starts. Tammy and I would hang out, just the two of us sometimes. Coffee, drinks, shopping, whatever. Normal friend stuff. And during those hangouts, she would drop these little comments. Never anything explosive. Never anything that would make me stop and say, wait, what are you doing? Just these tiny, almost offhand remarks. She would say things like, I don't think he's over his ex. He told me that. Or she would mention something my boyfriend supposedly said about our relationship, something that made it sound like he wasn't as invested as I thought. Little seeds. That's all they were. Little seeds planted in the softest part of my brain, the part that wanted to believe everything was fine, but was always a little bit afraid it wasn't. And I'll be honest with you, it worked. Not overnight, but gradually I started feeling insecure. I started second-guessing things. I started reading into texts that were perfectly normal, analyzing his tone when he talked about the future, wondering if he really meant it when he said he loved me. The crazy part is I couldn't even pinpoint where the doubt was coming from. It felt like it was just there, like it had grown inside me on its own. But it hadn't. She had planted every single seed. Around the same time, and this is the part that still makes my blood boil, my boyfriend started acting differently toward me. Our relationship suddenly had trust issues that hadn't existed before. And I didn't find out until much later, but Tammy was doing the exact same thing to him. She was telling him things about me, planting seeds in his head too. She was playing both sides like a chess game, and we were too busy doubting each other to notice the person moving the pieces. I remember one night specifically. Tammy wanted my boyfriend to stay out drinking with her and their friend group. He said no. He said he wanted to come home and spend time with me. And she got annoyed. Visibly, noticeably annoyed. Not in a playful, come on, one more drink kind of way. In a way that felt possessive. Like she was offended that he chose me over her. I noticed it. I felt something shift in my gut. But I brushed it off. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself I was reading into it because of all the insecurity that had been building up. Funny how that works, right? The very doubt she created in me was the same doubt that stopped me from seeing what she was doing. My own friends tried to warn me. They said they didn't like Tammy. They said some of the things she was saying didn't sit right. They told me I needed to talk to my boyfriend about it. But I didn't want to be that girlfriend. The one who says you can't be friends with other women. The one who makes ultimatums. I was so busy trying to be cool and understanding and fitting into his friend group that I completely ignored my own instincts and the people who actually had my back. That all came to an abrupt end on one night. One night that changed everything. Tammy and I went out drinking together. Just the two of us. And at some point during that night, I blacked out. Completely. I don't mean I got tipsy and things got fuzzy. I mean I lost hours of my life. There are entire chunks of that night that are just gone. Black. Nothing. I remember being at the bar. I remember Tammy driving at some point. I remember some guy she said she knew being around. The guy. I'll call him Peter. He calmed me down. He talked me through what happened. He told me I had been violently sick all night. Throwing up from around 2:30 in the morning when we apparently arrived at my apartment until 7 or 8 in the morning. Hours. He said Tammy had basically dumped him there with me. She left around 4 in the morning. Just left. Left a sick, unconscious woman with a man she barely knew and drove away drunk. Peter told me he stayed because he was too drunk to drive himself and because he was genuinely worried about me. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and he somehow knew that, which meant he knew that what was happening to me could actually be dangerous. He said he didn't want to leave me alone in that condition. And honestly, I believe him. He didn't have to stay. He didn't have to explain any of it to me. He could have just left before I woke up, and I probably never would have known he was there. I told him he probably should have called an ambulance. And he probably should have. But he was also drunk and in a situation someone else put him in, so I couldn't really be angry at the one person who actually stayed. What I could be angry about was everything else. After Peter left, I was still incredibly sick. I'm talking couldn't stand up straight, worst headache of my life, everything was foggy and wrong. I tried calling my boyfriend multiple times. He didn't answer. I checked my call log and realized I had also tried calling him several times during the night, but he was likely asleep. It took me forever to even find my phone. It was in a drawer, not on my nightstand where I always put it, not on my purse, in a drawer. And after days of turning that detail over in my mind, I came to the conclusion that Tammy had hidden it on purpose. She didn't want me to be able to call anyone. I called a cab and went to the hospital. By the time I was actually seen by someone, it was late. 7, 8 at night. The nurse and doctor told me that depending on what I was drugged with, most substances leave your system within 8 to 24 hours depending on the dose. And because I had been throwing up so violently, drinking tons of water, using the bathroom constantly, I had likely flushed a lot of it out of my system before they could even test for it. So I couldn't prove it. I knew what happened to me. I knew in my bones that someone had put something in my drink, but I couldn't prove it. And that helplessness, that feeling of knowing the truth, but having no way to make anyone else see it, that was almost worse than the night itself. When I finally got home from the hospital, I found all my stuff outside my apartment door. My boyfriend had come by while I was gone, packed up everything I'd left at his place, put it all outside my door, and blocked me on everything. Because Tammy had already gotten to him. She told him that I was all over Peter that night. She told him I slept with Peter. She told him everything he needed to hear to believe I had cheated on him. And she did it before I was even conscious enough to tell my side. She had a head start of almost an entire day. By the time I could form a coherent sentence, the story was already written, and I wasn't the one who wrote it. I was furious. Not just hurt, not just sad. Furious. Because now I could see it. All of it. The little comments over months, the seed planting, the manipulation, the way she had slowly wedged herself between us. And then this. This was the final move. She didn't just want to create doubt. She wanted to destroy us. And she almost did. I eventually got a hold of my boyfriend. I don't even remember how. Maybe through a mutual friend. Maybe through an email. But I got to him and I told him everything. I told him I genuinely believed I had been drugged. I told him I had no idea what happened that night. I told him nothing happened with Peter. He didn't believe me. And I get it. I do. He had his best friend of 7 years telling him one thing, and his girlfriend of less than a year telling him another. The math made sense to him. He went with the person he had known longer. It hurt like hell, but I understood. So he broke up with me. And that could have been the end of the story. A lot of people would have walked away at that point, taken a loss, licked their wounds, moved on. But I'm not a lot of people. And there was something burning inside me that would not let this go. Even if I never got my boyfriend back, I was not going to let this woman ruin my reputation and walk away clean. She was not going to win this. So I started investigating. I went back to the bar. I talked to the bartender, someone I knew personally. I asked her what she saw that night, who I talked to, what I drank, how I was acting before things went south. Then I talked to Peter again, in detail this time. He confirmed that nothing happened between us. He also told me Tammy was acting strange all night. He said when I started throwing up, Tammy basically abandoned me with him, a man I had never met before. She left a sick woman with a stranger and drove off drunk. And here's the part that really got me. Apparently Tammy came back later to check on me, which means she drove home drunk and then drove back drunk. She left and then came back. Why? Why would you leave and then come back unless you needed to make sure your little setup looked exactly the way you wanted it to? I talked to other people who were at the bar that night. Every single conversation, I had made Tammy's story make less sense. The details didn't line up. The timeline didn't work. The things she said happened didn't match what anyone else saw. Meanwhile, Tammy was sticking to her version with me. She kept insisting that all she told my boyfriend was that she saw Peter and me in bed together and that she wasn't going to lie to him. She said it like she was doing the noble thing, like she was just being honest, like she was the good friend in all of this. But I knew better now, and I had a plan. I pretended everything was fine with Tammy. I swallowed every ounce of rage I had, and I smiled at her, and I acted like her friend. I kept hanging out with her. I kept texting her. I kept being normal. Because I needed her to feel comfortable. I needed her to feel safe. I needed her to keep talking. Eventually, I convinced my boyfriend to give us another shot. We started talking again, hanging out again, slowly rebuilding. And the second that happened, Tammy started acting weird. The very first day I went over to his place, she saw me on the doorbell camera and immediately texted him asking why I was there. I saw the text come through on his phone, and I thought to myself, there it is. There's the panic. She can feel her grip slipping. That visit led to my boyfriend and me talking more openly than we ever had before. And as we compared notes, The inconsistencies started pouring out. Things she told him about me that I never said. Things she told me about him that he never said. Conversations she claimed happened that never happened. It was like pulling on a loose thread and watching the whole sweater unravel. He was starting to see it. He was starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, she had been playing both of us from the very beginning. But he still wasn't fully convinced she would go as far as drugging me. He thought I had probably just drank too much. And I get it. That's a serious accusation. That's not something you accept easily about someone you've known for 7 years. So I decided I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. I waited for my moment. When Tammy came home one evening, I asked my boyfriend to give us some privacy and leave the room. He did. And then I pulled out my phone, opened the voice recorder, set it down where she wouldn't see it, and I confronted her. No jilling, no drama, no accusations. I was calm, measured. I just asked her to walk me through everything again. Tell me what happened. Explain her version. And she started with the same story she had been telling for weeks. But this time I pushed back gently. I asked follow-up questions. I pointed out things other people had told me. And slowly, her story started shifting. Details changed. Timelines moved. Things she said 5 minutes earlier contradicted things she was saying now. She was backtracking in real time, and she didn't even realize she was doing it. I told her I knew she had been lying to people. I told her who specifically had given me information that didn't match her version. And I told her I didn't want to be friends with her anymore. Now here's the part that still makes me smile, and I know that probably sounds petty, but I earned this one. I did not tell my boyfriend about the recording. I wanted to see what Tammy would tell him happened during our conversation. My thinking was simple. If she lied about a conversation, I literally had proof of a conversation I was there for and recorded, then I could prove she was capable of lying about everything else too. The night at the bar, the things she said I did, all of it. And that is exactly what happened. Tammy went to my boyfriend and told him I had threatened her. She said I told her I would punch her out if she didn't change her story to match my version of events. She told him she was scared for her safety. She painted herself as the victim. Again, he came to me and told me what she said. He told me Tammy didn't feel safe having me at the house anymore. He said if we were going to keep seeing each other, it had to be at my place. He said he was already planning on moving out, that things had gotten too dramatic, and he wanted distance from her regardless. But he said it in a way that told me he still didn't fully know who to believe. I was offended. I won't lie about that. After everything I had done to piece this together, after all the patience I'd shown, he was still giving her the benefit of the doubt. But I also understood. 7 years is a long time. And one of the things I loved most about this man was his loyalty. He didn't throw people away easily. That quality was one of the reasons I was fighting so hard to keep him. I just needed him to see who actually deserved that loyalty. So I let Tammy keep talking. I let her spread her version of events to the entire friend group. For about 2 weeks, I just sat back and watched. I let her get comfortable. I let her think she had won. I let the story grow legs and walk around. And then someone in the friend group told me her latest lie. A new detail she had added. Something that hadn't been part of the story before. And I knew it was time. I sat my boyfriend down. I looked him in the eyes. And I played the recording. The look on his face. I will never forget it. I watched him go through about 6 different emotions in 60 seconds. Confusion, realization, anger, disgust, sadness, and then this quiet, still fury that I had never seen from him before. The recording proved everything. It proved she lied about me, threatening her. It proved her story about that night was inconsistent and full of holes. And most importantly, it proved that if she could lie so easily and so completely about a conversation that has happened, she could have lied about everything. Every little comment over the past year. Every seed she planted. Every story she told him about me. All of it was suspect now. He was sick over it. Not just angry. Sick. He told me later that the thing that bothered him most wasn't even the lying itself. It was the realization that she had potentially damaged the best relationship he had ever been in, and he had almost let it happen. He had almost lost me because of her, and he had helped her do it by believing her over me. He moved out immediately, did not wait for a lease to end, did not try to talk it out with her, did not give her a chance to spin another story. He packed his things and stayed at my place until he found another rental. We told the friend group about the recording. We told them she had lied about basically everything. And we didn't have to do much convincing, because once the recording was out there, people started connecting their own dots. Things she had said to them, things that never quite made sense. Other little manipulations they had noticed, but never questioned. And here's the funniest part of this whole saga. After everything, after all the scheming, all the lying, all the manipulation, all the effort she put into destroying my relationship and my reputation, Tammy did absolutely nothing. She didn't defend herself. She didn't respond to messages. She didn't confront us. She didn't try to explain or apologize or fight back. She just went quiet. She moved out. She stopped talking to everyone in that friend group. She basically vanished, disappeared like a ghost. She embarrassed herself so badly that she removed herself from the entire situation. No one had to cut her off. No one had to confront her. She looked at the wreckage of her own lies, and she just walked away from it. I think that tells you everything you need to know about whether she was guilty or not. Innocent people fight back. Innocent people demand to be heard. She didn't say a single word. I think about her sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. I wonder what was really going on in her head during all those months. Was she in love with my boyfriend? Was she doing it for his ex? Was she just one of those people who can't stand seeing other people happy? To this day, I still don't fully know what her motivation was. And honestly, I've made peace with not knowing. Some people don't have reasons that make sense to the rest of us. Some people are just wired to destroy things. What I do know is that I almost let her win. I almost walked away. I almost accepted the breakup and moved on and let her version of the story be the only one that existed. And if I had done that, she would still be in his life right now, still whispering, still planting seeds, still slowly destroying anyone who got close to him. But I didn't walk away. I fought, not with screaming, not with drama, not with ultimatums. I fought with patience. I fought with evidence. I fought by letting her own lies be the thing that buried her. And I think that's the most satisfying kind of revenge there is. The kind where you don't have to do anything except let the other person keep being who they really are until everyone else can finally see it too. The best part of this whole story, the part that makes every sleepless night and every moment of doubt and every ounce of patience worth it, is where we are now. My boyfriend and I just celebrated 4 years together. For years, we have a genuinely happy life. We laugh every day. We trust each other completely. The foundation that Tammy tried so hard to crack is stronger now than it ever was before, because we went through something that should have broken us, and we came out the other side, still holding hands. I think about what would have happened if I hadn't recorded that conversation. If I hadn't been patient enough to let her hang herself with her own words, we probably wouldn't be together right now. And that thought, that alternate timeline where she won, that keeps me grateful every single day. So if there's a lesson here, and I think there is, it's this. Trust your gut. When something feels off, it probably is. When your friends tell you someone isn't right, listen. And if someone is trying to destroy what you've built, you don't have to match their energy. You don't have to scream louder or fight dirtier. Sometimes the best thing you can do is stay quiet, stay patient, and let the truth do what it always does eventually. It comes out. It always comes out. So let me ask you this. If you were sitting where I was, staring down a woman who had lied about you, possibly drugged you, and nearly destroyed the best thing in your life, would you have walked away, or would you have done exactly what I did and waited for her to bury herself? If you made it this far, you already know what to do. I'll see you in the next one.